Hey guys, this is Coach Jay, and I'm talking with Chelsea McQuarrie. And today we're going to talk a little bit about ACC football. The ACC just met this past week with media days, and we are 40 days out from the opening season and some big games. And Chelsea, what you find out about ACC football? What do we need to know about it?
Yeah, I just recently graduated from Clemson, so I really honed in on, Dabo's press conference and the three players that came with him. One of them was Sammy Brown. He was like our star defensive player last year. He spoke first. He had a lot to say just about how the program has developed and he really like gained a leadership this year. And so he said that, the team's looking good. They've worked really hard. They have really good momentum going on. So we'll see because they just had their worst season in 15 seasons, like record wise.
Yeah,
And so that kind of, coming off of that season, it's hard. But the last time that they had this bad of a record was back in 2010. And that was their worst record. They went 6-7. Like it was terrible. And that in that off season is when Dabo hired Chad Morris, who was the offensive coordinator, and he worked for them for like 4 years, 2011 to 2003, and then he went on to head coach at SMU. But this past off season, we let go of our offensive coordinator, and Dabo rehired Chad Morris.
right.
So hopefully, like going into this season, it's kind of gonna, correlate to how 2010 to 2011 went, and 2011 season was good. So, I'm hoping that, Chad Morris kind of steps into what he did before with Clemson, which was kind of pick them up. And him and Dabo already have a great relationship. They've coached together, they know each other's ways. Dabo said that they previously were amazing together, and if he didn't get that SMU head coach job, he still would have been there. So, that's good to hear that it's not like they had to let him go or anything like that. But yeah, it's so on Clemson's side, hopefully it's gonna, be a good season. They do have, you know, um, Cade Klubnik got drafted, so he's on the Jets roster now. And so there's a void for quarterback position, which is a really important position. And they have Christopher Vecina, who's been behind Cade Klubnik, his whole 4 years starting. And so he's never started, but he's gotten a little bit of playing time. So he's the start. They solidified that in the ACC press conference that he's the starter. And then his backup was really up in the air. And they found out that after spring, Tate Reynolds, who's a complete like first year rookie, he's Christopher Vizina's backup, and he's the guys in the press conference said he's doing great and he's putting a lot of pressure on Vizina to keep his starting spot. So that's always good. So I mean, hopefully there's two good contenders for quarterback, but on the downside, neither of them really have a lot of experience at all. Tate's coming straight out of high school and Christopher Vizina's never started in college. So
Yeah.
we'll just see with all
and
that.
and and that first start against LSU is going to be a huge challenge at in LSU. So that's
Yeah,
going to be
that's brutal because it's
going to be
like
quite
Tigers
the
against
start.
Tigers, Death Valley against Death Valley, and we couldn't beat them in our home stadium, and now we're going over to LSU stadium, and it's like an insane dynamic. And of course,
Yeah,
it's a night game, 7:30 kickoff, so it's gonna be crazy. Um, Obviously LSU just got a new coach, so it's his season opener, and
yeah. Lane Kiffin. Lane
yeah,
Kiffin is going to be the place is going to be absolutely rocking
right. And
for
he's
3 days prior and 6 days after.
right.
So yeah, it's going to be that kind of event.
And he's trying to show Ole Miss, like, he made the right decision and he's going to build up LSU's program. So he's definitely fighting for something. So
The interesting dynamic about Clemson last year is that even though the year did not feel like it was that great for Clemson fans, um, the early season loss to LSU at home really kind of set the tone for the year. And I think that's where, from a psychological standpoint, you got to be really careful about not putting everything in on that first game. We have to win. If we don't win, it's going to be a rough season. And I don't know that the coaches definitely do a good job of trying to manage that, but the fans don't for sure. They want to win big early on, and because Clemson lost early on, I think it kind of set the tone for the season that it's just more difficult.
yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. I think so in this one interview that I watched of Dabo, he said that because they were like, you just came off of a pretty bad season, but the last 4 games were all 4 wins. So you're coming off a 4-game win streak. How are you going to carry that over into the next season? And his response was like amazing. I wasn't expecting it at all. But he said, we don't get to carry over those 4 wins.
Yeah.
And we don't want to carry over all the losses before that. But the one thing that we do want to carry over is the lessons from last season. And so I think they might have, I'm not sure, but it kind of seemed like they put all their marbles in that first game and they let that dictate the rest of their season, like you said, and it really showed with the rest of the season. And I think if they won against LSU that first week, it would have been a completely different season. But they didn't, and it affected it. And I think one of the biggest lessons that they hopefully are going to carry into this year is that, like, you have to just forget about that first game and move on, and it doesn't dictate the rest of your whole entire season. But with that being said, I think the football players and the coaching staff is definitely going to understand that this year, and I think that's going to really help them. But also, the fans don't exactly have that kind of mentality, and they're not getting a lecture from their staff every day about how, like, it doesn't define you, it's not as important. And so they aren't really going to understand that, like, it doesn't affect the rest of the season. And then, the players, they're obviously on social media and they're online and they're probably seeing, like hypothetically, if they lose against LSU, and they know that, they should stay in the right mentality because they learned from last year. But it's hard to overlook what the fans are saying online
Right.
and all that. And I actually did a research project with, like, this creative inquiry team when I was in college, and we collected a whole bunch of research and a whole bunch of data on fan expectations. And so it was basically like how the fans impact the players and the coaches and their decision making and their, how they play the game, how they react to certain things. And I mean, our data that we collected was basically like it's next to impossible for the fans not to make an impact on the players.
100%. Yeah.
It's over like a ton of football games, basketball games, volleyball games, baseball games, soccer games. Like, we researched everything across the board with all different kinds of games. And it was all like, what they think definitely influences how the game goes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 100%. And I do think that when you're playing a team that's not as strong, a team that, some of the lower teams in the ACC, you have to beat those teams pretty big. And the thing that was interesting about last year is Vegas bet on Clemson winning 9 out of 10 FBS games. They bet that Clemson was going to win. The one game they bet Clemson was going to lose was against Louisville, and Clemson actually beat Louisville.
I
And
know.
what that shows me is that, Clemson goes into every one of these games believing that they're going to win. Vegas believes they're going to win. Everybody believes they're going to win. Sometimes that can be your worst enemy. That because you think that you're better than the other team, and on paper, Clemson is probably better than every single team that they played last year, by a decent amount. All you got to do is look at the first round of the NFL draft this past year, and they're killing everybody else in the ACC. So technically, they are better, but it's a lot more than just who has the roster. It's about execution. It's about home games, away games. There's just so many different emotions going into this. But what'll be interesting is this year what Vegas does with Clemson. Vegas picked Clemson to win the LSU game last year at home. And, what that tells you is that a lot of Clemson fans lost money last year because, they bet on Clemson and then they won or they didn't win. And so, or they didn't win by the margin. And so a lot of Clemson fans lost money on that. So, but I think that all plays into the psyche is that, oh, Vegas, we're supposed to beat Duke by 9 points. And then you lose the game. Then the fans are like, how do we lose the game? The people that evaluate this, they say we're supposed to beat them by 9, and then we end up losing the game. But it's really irrational thinking for a fan to say that because it's just irrational. I mean, Vegas bets on these things and they get it right a lot statistically, but the reality is that they have no idea they have some idea, but they don't really understand different things. I do think one thing is when you're a Clemson, every single team that you play is going to be up for that game. They want to beat you. They're not going to have a down week. So everybody y'all played last year, they just came after you. And isn't Miami on the schedule this year?
Yes.
I think that Miami game's going to be a pretty good challenge.
Mm-hmm.
I know all about Miami and I know about all their practices and everything that they're doing, and they got a good team this year. They got a really solid team. The only question with them is maybe the offensive line, that it hadn't been proven yet, because I think they got almost a brand new offensive line. But overall, they're gonna be pretty solid. They'll probably be the favorite for the ACC this year as well. So that'll be a great game.
Yeah, I mean, I know with LSU versus Clemson, the like spread right now is LSU up by 11.5 points.
Really?
Which is, yeah, so that's pretty big, especially for two teams that didn't have the greatest season in the world last year, and they had a tight game last year's season opener. So that is a big spread, I think. But also, Clemson was projected to win last year, so there's really no telling. But with Miami, the thing is, those Miami fans, when they get riled up, they seriously make an impact. They get riled up. I know, my mom was on the field when she went to Florida State. She was on the field for the Florida State Miami game, and she said the whole time the fans were dumping beer on them and throwing food and everything like that. So, and also
that's crazy.
Yeah, there's the coaches on the field and there's the players on the field too. So if that's kind of happening to them too, it could get them, maybe too riled up, and then they take their emotions out on the field and they get penalties, or they take their emotions out on the field in a correct way that, kind of fuels them, and then they play better. So you really never know, because they can take it one of two ways. But yeah, I think that'll definitely be a good matchup. We have a bunch of good matchups this year with Clemson. Obviously we play Florida State again. We play them Halloween weekend, I'm pretty sure, at Florida State, which Florida State during Halloween is insane.
Yeah.
So there'll probably be a ton of people in town, and then more for the Florida State side. So that'll be big. Because those fans always make an impact too. And then Florida State is starting Ashton Daniels in the quarterback position, and he started for Stanford for the past 4 years, and he did or past 2 years at Stanford, and he did great. So they're getting a transfer coming in, and he already has experience in college football, and so I think he'll do great for Florida State. Honestly, they said Norvell, like Mike Norvell said in the press conference, that he's been working a lot with their quarterbacking coaches, and he's integrated great into their system. And so, I mean, I think that's definitely positive for them because they really, I mean, I hate to say it, but they have not had a solid quarterback since Travis.
It's been a while.
Mhm.
And as the quarterback goes is how you can pretty much get a feel for how the team is going to go. And I think last year Cade Klubnik came in. I think there was a lot of hope that he was going to be the guy at Clemson. He was coming in as a senior, and I think that there was a lot of expectation that it was going to step up another notch, and it just didn't. And it's hard to win games when you're not putting a ton of points on the board. Offense never could really totally gel, and it's just it doesn't matter the team if your offense is sputtering. The defense can only do so much. So, it'll be interesting to kind of see. I definitely think that Chad Morris is a huge step up for Clemson promotion. He's been out there. He's proven guy. He knows what to do. He'll if he's only focusing on the offense, it'll be up and running. And I guess the main thing is just getting that quarterback up to speed. So yeah, should
The
be a
thing
good year.
with Cade Klubnik was that, he was a great player, but when the season started, he was projected to be Heisman, and so was Arch Manning. And the two of them were supposed to be the 2026 Heisman winners.
Yeah.
And both of them, I think, kind of felt the pressure way too much.
Yeah, they did.
And it got to them because neither of them did what they
Right. It was a rough year. A rough year
projected
all the way
to do.
around.
Both of them, for sure. I mean, Texas did, Arch Manning didn't do a lot for them. And, he comes from a great background, obviously, And so I think the pressure just got to both of them. And Cade, especially in home games, he kind of felt like all that Clemson love and all of that. And I think it was just a little too much for him at times. And he really, you could tell, like in the game, he really got scared to make decisions, and he got better as the season went on. And that's why, we went on a 4-game winning streak at the end, was because he finally got comfortable. But you just can't take 8 games to get comfortable. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that's what the preseason's for.
I
And so,
think that both Clemson and South Carolina, I think those head coaches are really under a significant amount of pressure this year. If they do not win, I think if either one of those guys lose more games than they win, I think that they're both gone. Either or both are gone. I think South Carolina, they are in a similar boat where they've done pretty good in some areas, but not enough wins to keep Shane Beamer around. And even as much as Clemson has loved Dabo and everything else, he cannot have a 5-win season. He cannot have it. If he does, Clemson will raise the money and he will be gone. And I hate to talk about this stuff, but the reality is that once you lose early and you lose another one that you should have won, and then all of a sudden you get beat by some decent teams, the whole psyche of a team goes down. People don't believe in you anymore. And so these early games are just crucial for both of the flagship schools in the state. They got to win early. And I'm not saying that Clemson has to win the LSU game. I'm not saying that. But I think the main thing I'm saying is they gotta have 5 good wins. I mean, they gotta have 7 good wins, maybe 8. Or I think that things start getting. I think the fans start getting a little bit restless in Clemson.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, as much as Dabo is like a staple and like a tradition as part of Clemson now, it's just like you can't have an amazing roster and spending
Right.
all this money and raising all this money, and
Yeah.
then even like bringing in new coaches and stuff like that, and then still not really be successful with the program. And it's not all on him. Like
Right.
this
For sure.
his 19th season. Like this upcoming season is going to be in his 19th one, and he's had 2 national championships. Like he had so many ACC championships like just 2 years ago. I mean, it's been like really great, but also especially with the way college football is evolving, it's like there's so many people that can step up and take his place and are, especially with Dabo's circumstance, like he took I think 17 players from the portal this year, which was crazy
Yeah.
because he was so against it, but also like he is very stuck in his ways, which a new coach that's coming up wouldn't be, and they would be, flexible and kind of do whatever the board tells them to do. So I think that also has some say in it of
Oh
like,
yeah. 100%.
yeah,
The thing that's tough about Clemson is that when you're the Clemson coach, you are basically a king. You're a king in the upstate of the country, and you are treated with all the resources, everything you need, and you actually believe you're a king, and
yeah,
and maybe he is a king. And but what I'm telling you is, as a fan of Clemson, of South Carolina, the things that get me the most about the head coaches is what they say. And usually there's just enough comments that are not good comments. And Dabo said some stuff, and so has Shane Beamer. They've said just enough stuff where they got a little bit too defensive with the reporters. And
hmm
as I just want to know what happened, why it happened, what all this other stuff. But a lot of times, both Dabo and Shane Beamer, they have been their own worst enemy. They have said things, and then they just keep digging a hole,
yeah,
and they've made it too much about them. And whereas just keep it plain and simple. This is what happened. We didn't play good defense. We're going to work on that this week and just move on. But I think both of them, they just say too much, and when they do it, it when they say it, and you're just like, dude, you can't have a 30-minute press conference after you just lost. It needs to
right,
be about 7 minutes, get in and get out, and go
and then
home and get a good night's sleep.
yeah,
Yeah. But I feel like I know for Shane Beamer, a lot of times after those posts, both of those guys are very emotional, first of all. That's
yes,
a positive thing for the recruiting and the all in and the family and all that. But it's a horrible thing after a loss, because they feel it 100
they do.
times more than the biggest fan. And it
And both of them
shows, and they get
try
too
to
emotional
put,
about it.
yes, and they try to put like the whole entire game on them. Both of them do that,
Right.
and it's like you have to, like, yes, it's good to take accountability because you're over the whole entire program, but also like, that's why I was so happy to see the OC leave, because it's like, you're not responsible for the offense and the defense and everyone. Like your offensive coordinator should be mostly handling the offense. So if he's not doing the right thing, like that's
You got to
his
let them
account
go. Yeah,
part.
you got
Yeah.
to fire him. That's
No.
that's part of being a coach, is you
Right.
got to fire him if he's not getting the job done.
Right.
Yeah.
And the
Well,
whole
no,
thing,
I agree. I agree. So that's a step in the right direction. But then, just how I think sometimes they think that reporters are trying to stick it to them or whatever, and they're overall friends with these guys. It's not like they're having dinners with them. They're all part of the same group. It's not like the Republicans and Democrats in Washington D.C. These guys are all part of the same. Everybody that's writing about Clemson wants Clemson to win, and they're just trying to find out what's going on behind the scenes,
Mhm.
and they just want some insight on it. But as hard as it is for me to say, that Lane Kiffin actually does a really good job after the games are over. He's very calm about it. He gives a pretty good summary of it. He doesn't get all crazy acting about it, and he does a really good job of basically kind of saying, this is why we won, this is why we lost. And at the end of the day, that's all I care about. But every time Dabo gets up there after a loss or anything like that, I know it's going to be, you're just holding on to your seat because you're like, what's he going to say?
I
Like,
know.
what question is going to push him over the top?
Yeah. Yeah. It's almost like at first he's like in confession, like repenting for his sins. And then it goes
Right,
into
right.
like somebody sparks something and then he's angry. And then
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
it's,
yeah.
there's just too much fuel in the fire and it just keeps going up and up and up.
Yeah, yeah.
But
It's like watching the four phases of a loss,
yeah, all in
and
one.
then by the time we're done, it's like,
Through every stage of
he's in
grief.
mourning. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But I mean, I've been in those rooms when after games when the coaches are in there, and it's still a lot of emotion. I mean, literally, you are maybe 50 feet away from the locker room. They can still hear stuff from the game. These games are so high intensity, especially the home games at Clemson. They're so high intensity. It would be very hard to go out there and explain how you lost when Vegas has bet on you. And like, you're like, I got nothing to do with Vegas. All I'm trying to do is win a game. Like,
Right.
but Vegas sets the tone. All these people, half the Clemson fans have bet on the game in
Yeah.
some manner. If nothing else, their reputation's on the line with their neighbor that they're like, we're going to win, you guys are going to lose. So there's just a lot at stake. And then he has to come down there and explain it. And it's just like, he doesn't care about a line or what the expectations were and all that, but he is expected to live up to that
Right.
that level, and it's brutal.
Yeah.
It's not fair, but at the same time, he's making 5 million, 7 million. I don't even know what he's making now, but it's a tremendous amount of money. And the thing that I really learned about Clemson was, y'all had that defensive coordinator who's now at Oklahoma,
Yeah.
and a head coach there. And the main thing that I've learned about just with these head coaches is you got to have a great defensive coordinator and you got to have a great offensive coordinator, and you got to pay them. If those two guys are great and you can keep them around for a while, you'll win a lot of games.
Yes.
But that's the key. And you got to have a good quarterback. If you can get those in place, everything else can run. Just keep the trains on the track. But I think sometimes if you lose early, people don't believe in the play calling. They start criticizing the offensive coordinator. They start criticizing the quarterback. And now we're just in choppy waters, man.
Yeah. And with Clemson, our defense held up really good,
Yeah.
but they were on the field the whole game, every game.
Right.
And
Right.
well, they started to lose steam. And also one thing that hopefully they'll fix are I think he even said it in the press conference that they were working on it was that like, our defense could stop a run any day of the week, any hour of the week, anytime. But like the pass defense was, that's where we let them score.
Yeah.
And so hopefully, like, people like our safeties and stuff, those are fixed up a little bit. But I am excited to the SEC's what next weekend?
No,
Or
it's this week. The
oh, it's
SEC media days are this week. Yeah.
yeah. So definitely excited to hear from Shane Beamer. To see what South Carolina's gonna do. They're always like, you never know. I feel like they haven't had like a blowout season really since
Steve
Spencer
Spurrier.
Rattler
Yeah.
was there.
Steve Spurrier. Yeah. Steve Spurrier. Yeah. Back in those days.
Yeah, so I mean, we'll just
Well, they got a brand new offensive coordinator at South Carolina. They got an offensive line coach, which has been a struggle for 5 years straight. You can't
right.
win games without a good offensive line. I believe they got a good one now. The offensive coordinator is supposed to be one of the top,
Yeah.
and I actually have heard from some of the players at South Carolina they like the offensive schemes better. There's a better mojo with the team and all that. So I think with South Carolina's schedule, they got a really tough. That back half of the schedule is brutal.
Yeah.
It's they got Georgia, Clemson, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, Florida, Tennessee. So
Yeah.
it's pretty difficult schedule. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, South Carolina's got 2 cupcake games early on in the season, and then they play Mississippi State. That after those 3 games are over, you're gonna have a pretty good idea about who they are, because
Right.
if they struggle with those games, it's going to be a long season for South Carolina fans.
Absolutely.
And I guess with Clemson, I think you won't really know what you got until 3 or 4 games into the season, and then you'll have a decent feel of it. But um,
Yeah. I think
a
the same
freshman
thing.
quarterback is going to be a question mark, and that's why that line's so high. You
Right.
know,
Yeah. And I think it's
uh,
the same deal with Florida State too. It's like, they have an easy game first week and then second week is Alabama again. So we'll see.
yeah,
We'll see how
that's
that goes. I mean, it could crush them. Like they could get blown out of the water, or like last year they could beat them and be Alabama's only loss of the whole season. Like it just you never know,
yeah.
honestly.
Norvell's another one. Norvell is another one that if he doesn't win some big games early on, he's out. I mean,
Right.
there's no doubt he's out. And I think Florida State fans have heard enough. They've seen enough. If they don't get some wins this year, I think they're going to clean house there again. They've done it before.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, they have right after their first easy game, they have like 3 ACC teams back to back. It's Alabama, then it goes straight to Virginia, and then it goes straight to SMU. So they're all 3 really good ACC
Yeah,
teams
yeah,
that they're going to have to like battle back to back. So, I mean,
right.
after week 4, we should know exactly pretty much how all the teams
Oh,
are
I agree. Yeah,
play for
yeah.
the rest of the season.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, we're 40 days out. It's exciting time. You kind of hate to see the summer end because it's time to go back to school and all that. But at least we got football to watch, and it's gonna be a good, big year for sure. And I think it makes it more fun when it is high stakes. I just think
Yeah.
it's more fun. Like, Dabo may do his best work with being under high stakes. He knows that he's got to win 8 games. For Shane Beamer, I think he's got to win at least 6, and that's basically what Vegas has picked him at 6.5. So he's got to win 6 games in there. Clemson is one of the games that he basically has to win. So
Right.
it is at Clemson this year. So
Yeah, that's
he's under a lot of pressure too. But his payout last year was so high. I just think that they were going to give him one more shot at it. But he has done an amazing job on the offseason recruiting. But at the end of the day, you got to win games.
yeah.
And if you can't win games in either one of those environments, they got to get a new coach because both environments are so electric that if you can't win there, like it's
Yeah. And the thing with I mean, we'll definitely talk about this once it gets closer to Thanksgiving, but the thing with, the Clemson South Carolina game is that any game, no matter how the team's done during the season, once it gets to the rival game, whether it's Florida State, Clemson, South Carolina,
yeah.
Alabama, Auburn, like any of those at all, it's like almost everything's just thrown out the window and it's like this is our rival. So like both teams could do literally
Oh
anything.
yeah, yeah. No, for sure. Yeah, definitely. And you would tend to think that South Carolina would play better at home and Clemson would play better at home and all that. But in that rivalry, South Carolina's taken a lot of games at Clemson. They've won a lot of those games, and Clemson's definitely run the table in Columbia. So
Right.
those same rules don't apply.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Like last year, I mean, Clemson won at South Carolina like almost easily, but then the
yeah.
year before that, we were in Clemson and we gave up the last
Oh
5
yeah,
seconds and South Carolina ended up winning in our stadium.
yeah,
So like
yeah.
you
Huge
really
win.
just
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, we won't know until the season starts going, but it should be. I think both programs have an opportunity to be great, and I think the ACC now that Bill Belichick has been there, some of that shock and all is over. So we got that kind of going. Miami's back in the limelight. Florida State hopefully can kind of get it going. I think we got enough stuff out there with Duke. Virginia Tech's got a brand new coach. There's enough excitement going on that it should be a fun season in the ACC. So anyway, it was good talking to you about all this stuff. Where can people find you? Where can people find you on the web?
So on Instagram, you can look up at Coaching Mental Performance, and anything you send to that, I check it daily. I'll see any of that. And then we're on Psychology Today under, what is it under?
Coach J Sports, Ponte Vedra. Coach J, Ponte Vedra.
And then if you just look up sportsintervention.com, pulls you to our website, and that has just anything you want to know about any information. You can, sign up under there to do all of our services, everything like that.
Okay, awesome. All right, Chelsea, we appreciate it, and have a great week, and we'll do it again.
Thanks,
Thank
you
you.
too.
All right, we'll see you.
Bye.